I wanted to record this short little video about a huge aha moment that I had recently, just a few days ago. And it was actually around a limiting mindset that I had been carrying along for quite some time without even realizing it. I mean, I did realize it, but maybe not in such a big way that I realized just a few days ago. And it is around the idea of normalizing being normal, being healthy, being happy, being successful, having abundance. Because what I have seen over years, and especially on media, social media, or just news media, anything, or even storybooks, you will see the story of rags to riches. And that is like a very romanticized version. Like everybody loves the stories, these kind of stories of rags to riches, of how somebody went from extreme poverty to becoming extremely successful, or from bad health to having great health, or like abusive relationships to great relationships. People love listening to these kind of stories, and I myself included. And these stories are very inspirational. They are inspiring because it makes people think that if a person who has come from this background with so much limitation, if they can be this successful, then it can happen for me as well. And I don't have any doubt in my mind about that. Of course, it can happen. And at the same time, sometimes when you start plugging into these kind of stories too much, especially if you listen to these stories on social media, they're everywhere, and the amount of glamour or the way they have been glamorized, I don't know if that is even a word, that these stories have become, that often people who don't have that kind of an experience, who didn't come from a broken family, who didn't, have major health challenges or major issues in their life, and they are doing very well in their life too. They are successful too. They have happy, healthy relationships and great friendships, abundance, success, money, whatever it is that they want in their life. But often, when these people hear these stories of like rags to riches, it makes them feel like, oh, I had such an easy life. I guess I should not be commenting about these things, or I should not be talking about these things because I'm not really worthy enough, because I didn't earn all these things by going through all this struggle and the hardships that some of these other people have gone through. So my success is not valid enough, or is not good enough, because my life was not hard enough. Now, I don't know if you can relate to this at all or not, but this was the case with me for such a long time, that even though, okay, I had my fair share of, maybe if you can call them, hardships, but nothing like some of the other people or the teachers or coaches that I have followed over the years. It's definitely not a rags to riches story, or extreme poverty or extreme bad health and then getting extremely healthy or extremely rich. Not that kind of story. So I thought that, my success is not worth sharing, or any kind of success or achievement that I have in any area of my life is not big enough, is not good enough, because my life was not that hard. I know it is crazy, but then I had this realization a few days ago that we need to start normalizing health. We need to start normalizing being born to a good family, having been born to normal families, having good relationships, having healthy role models. And it is okay to be born in a successful family and then become even more successful. It is completely okay to be, the story of rags to riches. It is extremely good. And at the same time, even the story of wealthy to outrageous wealth is great too. The story of being healthy and then setting even better standards for your personal health is an equally valid and good story. And even though it might not have so much of contrast, but life has its own way of creating contrast even in those situations and circumstances by taking you to greater levels of fine tuning. I hope that is making sense, but this had been a limiting belief in my mind for some time, that just because I didn't have hardships in my life, like some of these famous people, like let's say Tony Robbins or Oprah, so whatever it is that I achieve in my life is not good enough, because hey, I had it pretty easy because I didn't have to go through this. I was not traumatized like this, or I was not, bullied like this, or I didn't have to go through all this kind of abuse like this. So only if I go through real bad hardships, only then my success means something. And it was a huge aha moment for me to realize that that is not true at all. And I'm sure there are many other people who are shining their light a little less, thinking on the same lines. Because if I'm thinking like that, I'm sure I cannot be the only one. There might be more people who are thinking the same way. Just because in today's generation, especially, I see that here in the West a lot where I live. I don't know how it is back in other countries, like I'm from India. I don't know how it is there these days because I'm not tuned into that community or that culture as much as I'm tuned into the Western community and culture, being living in US for such a long time. But I do see people here using their diseases or their challenges in life, all the hardships that they have gone through, as a badge of honor, almost as if, there's a sense of pride attached to the amount of hardships that people have gone through in their life. And definitely when you go through hardships, that's something, it is a huge learning lesson for for yourself. I'm not trying to undermine that, but at the same time, people who didn't go through hardships, it is absolutely okay to have a good, happy, healthy life. So if you are one of those people, don't feel that you need to prove your worthiness by creating suffering and hardship for yourself. Because I feel like we are living in such a suffering consciousness these days that there's almost an addiction to suffering. So get over that addiction to suffering and don't create hardships for yourself unnecessarily just because somebody else had to go through some struggles before they allowed themselves to be successful. So that was just, I guess, a long-winded way of me saying that little thing, that if you have it easy in life, let it be even easier. It's okay to have an easy life. Bye for now.